Much better. Every day a little better.
Sorry. I can see.
Yeah, I gotta read that now.
Pressing.
Yeah, it was not just a reboot.
Are you out?
I'll be
I just
looking
go
over
home
your
if I were
shoulder. I'll just look over your shoulder. It'll be fine. Nobody will notice.
Unless you're watching the game.
No, I don't think so. Not tonight. I'd let you know if there was. Well, we'll try to wing it then.
I now call the Snoqualmie City Council meeting to order. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening we have the honor of having us. Could you please lead us in the pledge? That's the city clerk. Please take the roll call.
Councilmember James.
Here.
Councilmember Ross.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Mayhew.
Here.
Councilmember Lassay.
Here.
Councilmember Sundwall.
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
Mayor Larkin.
I'm here. We're all accounted for. City clerk, can you please swear in our council members-elect tonight? As folks may recall, Councilmember Mayhew was filling a vacant position, so he was sworn in immediately after the election, and so the two who run the recent election, or remaining ones, Councilmember Sundwall and Ross, will need to be sworn in with their new terms.
Congratulations.
And then we can have a legal meeting with them. So.
Let me see if and hold up your right hand. Repeat after me. I,
Catherine Ross.
Oh,
having been duly elected
having been duly elected.
to the office of city
The office of City Council.
position number
Position number 2.
Position number
4, 5, 6
6
of the city of Snoqualmie, Washington,
of the City of Snoqualmie, Washington.
on November 5th, 2019,
On November 5th,
2019.
2019.
for a 4-year term,
For a 4-year term.
swear that I will faithfully and impartially
Swear that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office as prescribed
of my office as prescribed
by law to the best of my ability,
by law to the best of my ability.
and I will support and maintain
And I will
And I will
support
support and maintain
all valid ordinances of the city of Snoqualmie,
all valid ordinances of the City of Snoqualmie,
the laws and the Constitution
the laws and the Constitution
of the state of Washington
of the State of Washington
and the United States of America,
and the United States of America.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to both of you, and thank you for being willing to continue your service. I look forward to working with you for the next 4 years, or at least 2 years for me. So with that, council, may I have a motion and a
Is that
second?
an announcement?
No.
Done.
What?
That's
Switch.
my only firm prediction. Council, can I please have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this evening. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Shepherd?
Yeah, I would like to have the confirmation of the interim city administrator off of the consent, I guess, part of the agenda. And I'd like to add to the committee of the whole, add the bag ban to be added to the CDC committee discussion.
Or, I'm sorry, or first of all, the appointment of the interim city administrator is not on the consent agenda. That's under proclamations of appointments. So
Okay, pull it off of, whenever we can have a discussion about that appointment.
you can have a discussion at that time. Did you,
Okay.
you earlier in the email were requesting an executive session. Is that still your request?
Yes.
Okay, so you're requesting an executive session. Thank you. That's helpful. All right, what was the second item?
I would like to add to the committee of the whole, a discussion about bag ban to be added to the CDC committee, and discussion regarding 2019 novel coronavirus to the Public Safety Committee, and a discussion of adopting an ordinance similar to Issaquah's regarding exposing minor children to domestic violence, adding that to the Public Safety Committee, and add a discussion about mid-year budget to the City Council retreat.
All right, any other?
And I also would like to pull the warrants off of the consent agenda.
Okay, that one doesn't require a motion. Any member can pull an item off the consent agenda. So if I understand correctly, the only thing I heard that would be actionable, given it was pulling the warrants off. Anything else, if you'd like to make a motion pertaining to those, then that's the only way we would proceed. Otherwise, I'll just continue moving on.
When should we make that motion?
You should do it now.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to add those items to the,
You want to do them all together as one, or do you want to separate those?
I'd like to separate them.
Okay, could you make motions separately then? and see if-
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to add bag ban to be added to the CDC committee discussion. And you want me to make multiple motions, or do we want to?
No, let's take it at a time, 'cause I need a second in order to
Well-
proceed.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
I don't view that as a change of agenda for the council tonight, much less a motion for an agenda item for a committee. Can we handle those motions in committee as a whole, or just disposition them at that stage?
If the councilmember Shepherd doesn't sit on those committees, she doesn't really have an opportunity to make that request perhaps, but she
Yeah, I'm
can,
just
she
saying
can appeal
Committee of
to.
whole, make a motion to,
Yeah, I'm going to rule that it's appropriate for her to appeal to the council as a whole
Right.
to add, discussion items or working items to committees. And so, again, I'll just listen for a second. If there's no second, that motion will die for lack of a second. And Councilmember Shepherd, I don't hear a second. Is there another motion you'd like to make?
I'd like to have a discussion regarding the 2019 novel coronavirus to the Public Safety Committee discussion.
Okay. Moved as stated. Is there any second? All right, appears that motion also to dies for lack of a second.
Okay, I'd like to move to add a discussion of adopting an ordinance similar to Issaquah's regarding exposing minor children to domestic violence to the Public Safety Committee discussion.
Okay, again, I don't hear a second, Councilmember Shepherd, sorry. So if we could continue.
And I'd like to add a discussion about mid-year budget to the City Council retreat.
All right, I have a motion as stated by Councilmember Shepherd. Is there any second?
Wouldn't we do that at the
I think she's asking that it be added to the agenda of the retreat agenda.
I don't even know what that means. Budget, what?
I
Mid-year budget.
think she's talking about the mid-biennium budget, or in other words,
Mid-biennium budget.
is there any second to the motion?
So by way of clarification,
Yes, sir.
the first day of the retreat, there will be discussion about budget. It just seems like we will just
Right.
naturally.
Councilmember Jeans, I'm sorry. It seems you're directing your comments to Councilmember Shepherd for clarification or comments, and I appreciate that, but we can't, it's really not appropriate to proceed with discussion and debate unless there's a second to actually put it on the floor for discussion. So I'm going to ask again if there's a second on the motion. So not hearing a second, that dies for lack of a second. Did you want to make a motion regarding the executive session for the appointment of the interim city administrator?
Yes, I'd like to move that we hold an executive session for the appointment of the interim city administrator.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Information, just, do we know that whatever topic is being suggested for that executive session is permissible?
I believe it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we discussed it before.
I think it is a good argument either way. It's kind of a gray area. Anna, do you want to speak to that, or?
We've discussed it before with the city attorney and.
Can hear you.
Sorry, we've discussed it before with the city attorney, and it was known to us that this was likely going to happen, so yes.
Right,
it
would
is
it be
a
accurate to
permissible.
say it's probably defensible either way, whether they want to discuss publicly or in executive session? You could defend it either way. So
Yes, yes, that is also true.
Right, so it's really up to the council, the majority of the council, if they prefer to take any questions Councilmember Shepherd has into executive session, or does it in open session?
I second the motion.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? All right, motion is approved.
I'm sorry, what were we just approving?
To go in, Councilmember Shepherd, prior to making an appointment of the interim city
I
administrator.
oppose.
Okay, yeah. All right. So that was 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Again, so pertaining to yours, we'll go into executive session and then the warrants will be removed. Councilmember Shepherd, is there anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Is there any other items for the agenda tonight, council?
Can I just say point of order?
Yes.
So the items that Councilmember Shepherd brought up, like the bag ban and the 2019 virus and things like that, doesn't mean that we're not for discussing them in our committees. It's just about having a discussion about them tonight at the council. So I would state that those could be taken to the committee to talk about it.
Yeah, the chair of the committees are certainly
Right.
welcome to bring those up. I don't think Councilmember Shepherd was motioning to discuss those tonight. She was motioning that the majority of the council, she was hoping would add those to the, as discussion items for the committees. But at this point now, it's up to the chairs or the members of those committees as to whether they want to take those items up. Okay? All right, so with those changes, all those in favor of the agenda tonight?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, with that, we move on to the election of the 2020 Mayor Pro Tem. At this point, I'm going to open nominations for the 2020 Mayor Pro Tem. Please note that any nominations do not require a second. Councilmember Ross.
So I would like to nominate Councilmember Mayhew as Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Councilmember Shepherd.
I would like to nominate myself.
Okay. Any other nominations, council? All right. Councilmember Shepherd, I assume you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Mayo, I assume you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll close the nominations, and hearing no other nominations, all those in favor of all those in favor of electing Councilmember Shepherd as Mayor Pro Tem, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. All those in favor of all those in favor of appointing Councilmember Jim Mayhew as Mayor Pro Tem, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right. Councilmember Mayhew, congratulations. You're going to be the Mayor Pro Tem for 2020. With that, I'll turn it over to you to handle council committee appointments and liaison appointments.
So, council members, in your materials that were available when you arrived tonight is a listing of council committee assignments, city commission and board assignments, and other commission and board assignments. There's a listing that shows what each of those assignments would be. There's also a spreadsheet showing what those assignments were last year, as well as what I'm proposing for this year, and a little chart to kind of show you how that then distributes across the different council members. I just would point out to you there are 2 council members that have only one council committee assignment. We have 4 committee four committees, 3 positions on each. There's 7 of us. You do the math. 2 of us end up with only 1 committee, and the remainder with 2 committees. The committees are largely unchanged from last year. The one exception is 2 exceptions. Moving Councilmember Ross from the Public Safety Committee to the Community Development Committee, and moving Councilmember Sundwall to the Public Safety Committee, adding a second committee for him. So,
And adding the Mayor Pro Tem to the F&A Committee as chair.
and changing the chair of the F&A Committee, that's correct. So I would move that we would adopt these council committee assignments and council liaison assignments.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to adopt the appointments by the Mayor Pro Tem as provided for you in hard copy. Is there any further discussion, council? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion is carried. If any member, we can make these available on the city's website for anyone that is curious about what the liaison appointments,
These will be posted in the morning.
or be posted in the morning. In fact, go into the agendas or the minutes of the meeting, and Jody will have those posted tomorrow. All right. All right, with that, we move on to public hearings, presentations, proclamations, and appointments. And first up, it gives me pleasure to introduce the Vice Chair of the Snoqualmie Tribal Council, Michael Ross, who comes bearing gifts, I understand.
Yeah, Christmas is over, but I'm still here. Sorry, is it 5 minutes or 2 minutes?
Depends how much money you're giving us.
I should get 5 minutes. I appreciate the time. Thank you. I'm really happy to do this, and congratulations to those that got reelected and your appointments. I'm sure you'll serve the city well. My name is Michael Ross. I'll do my intro. It's Wiat Siyab Togualapu Gualapu Tiishid Inakanicha Titsta Stokwalbufshad, which means hi to all of you, honorable ones, to my friends and relations. My name is Michael Ross, and I'm of the Snoqualmie people. I'm happy to come here today as the vice chair and the seated members of the Casino Impact Mitigation Fund. I'd like to deliver a $75,000 check to the city and its mayor for their efforts towards the expansion of the I-90 westbound on-ramp. It is there to help decrease traffic congestion for the citizens of the city and for the tribal employees that commute every day to and from work and home. I'd like to thank the seated members of the Compact Committee. It's the Snoqualmie Tribal Councilwoman Marilee Mai, Mayor Matt Larson, State Delegate WSGC Tribal Liaison Julie Lies, former King County Delegate Megan Smith, and the fund administrator is also the Government Affairs Executive Director, Jamie Martin. And I think it's my closing statement is just that this is just one of many ways that we can help work together as a government to invest in the values and goals that we have and we share mutually. So I'm happy to have done this, and I appreciate the time that you gave me. So thank you. I guess is it okay to do pictures, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's just not videos, right?
Yeah, or just say quickly, Michael, please extend, I know I speak for the council and the community when I say thank you for your support of this project. It was a great conversation at the Compact Mitigation prior to the vote about, as you said, you've eloquently stated, finding shared values in the community and investing those dollars in the community. And that was just a great partnership too, to have Maple Valley and Covington join us in that effort too, with their 50,000 respective contributions. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
And thanks for taking the
congratulations
time
on that,
tonight.
getting that done.
You want the council to come up, Michael?
Or whoever wants to
Hey, Michael,
take it
thank
from
you
my
very
end.
much.
Oh, yeah.
Just you two are good.
Just say, you go ahead. Even me. I was opposed to less traffic. I thought you were in favor of more traffic.
That's the same thing, opposed to less traffic. Hey, Brian, why don't you just lay down in front? When they Photoshop, just walk in.
Actually, get close to each other like we like each other.
Hold on, I got out of my, no, I'm good, I'm sorry. I just want to get the live off. There we go.
You guys know where to look.
Ready?
I've got Michael's, I want to get a good one for him.
Mike. Thank you. Okay, thanks. All right, Mike.
There we go.
There we go.
Is it warm in here? Is it warm in here?
It's a little bit. It's a little bit.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a sweater on when our furnace in our office was blowing out about.
All right, next we have a proclamation regarding Mentoring Week. You're here to, I'm sorry, your name again? Carla, thanks for coming. I should have noted that, sorry. So whereas the city of Snoqualmie honors caring adult mentors who support young people by showing up for them and demonstrating their commitment to helping them thrive, and whereas mentoring programs like Youth Success, mentoring a program of Snoqualmie Valley Community Network in the Snoqualmie Valley make our communities and our state stronger, and whereas quality mentoring promotes healthy relationships, communication, positive self-esteem, and growth of a young person, and whereas students who meet regularly with their mentors are more than 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school, and youth who face an opportunity gap and have a mentor are 55% more likely to be enrolled in college than those who did not have a mentor. And whereas youth who meet regularly with their mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs and 27% less likely to start drinking. And whereas 2/3 of adults consider it highly important for young people to have mentors, and that same population estimates that only a quarter of youth have the mentors they need, and whereas nearly 9 in 10 feel that more mentoring is needed in our country, and whereas almost half of today's young adults report having a mentor in their youth, and those rates appear to have been rising steadily over the past several decades. And whereas the National Mentoring Month is the time of year where engagement from community members interested in becoming a mentor is highest, and an opportunity to celebrate, elevate, and encourage mentoring in communities across the country. Now, therefore, I, Matthew Larson, Mayor of the City of Snoqualmie, do hereby proclaim January 2020 as Mentoring Month of the City of Snoqualmie and encourage community members to mentor others. So, Carla, thank you for coming to pick this up. On behalf of the Snoqualmie Valley Community Network, and I appreciate all the great work you guys are doing.
Thank you very
Oh, here,
much.
let's all come up.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
In becoming a mentor, Michael Ross is actually one of our mentors, and he's wonderful. I'm leaving some information here at the City Hall, and there's information where you can pick up our contact information.
Great, thank you, Carla. All right, and the fun just continues. So now it's, I think, one of the we are going to recognize James for his extraordinary achievements as Eagle Scout and kind of speak about some of his next endeavors. James, go ahead and come up to the podium if you could. And then I also want to mention that for scouts that come for badges and so forth, we always give them special dispensation. All of us have to play by the Robert's Rules of Order, which means you have to be recognized about the chair, when to speak and all that. Scouts have special privileges. You just raise your hand, and at any point we can stop the meeting, take your question, clarify what's going on, and because sometimes we get in all kinds of confusing city speak. But with that, hold on, James, let's recognize you. Dear James, I take great pleasure in recognizing the outstanding achievements which have qualified you as an Eagle Scout. Your Eagle project involved manufacturing, finishing, and installing benches from reclaimed fencing material for use at Ensign Ranch, a nonprofit campground near Cle Elum. You engaged, taught, and managed over 30 volunteers and 5 vendors that contributed or subsidized materials and equipment rentals. You are pursuing an even more ambitious scouting goal now, the William T. Hornaday Award. There are about 4 million Eagles for every 1 Hornaday recipient. This involves several more merit badges and several more projects with a conservation focus that are equal to or greater in scope than Eagle projects. Aside from academics and scouting, you participate in your school's cross-country and track teams, play the saxophone in the school's jazz band, and are actively engaged in service and leadership throughout your church. An Eagle Scout is known and respected the world over for unfailing adherence to the principles of trustworthiness, leadership, and initiative. By this leadership, civic commitment, and patriotism, you have demonstrated that you truly know the meaning of citizenship. I congratulate you on your dedication, hard work, and perseverance for the honor of your achievement, and I salute you as one of the community's finest young citizens. Respectfully, Matthew Larson, Mayor of Snoqualmie. So James, congratulations.
smiles in a day. But sometimes it's nice. James.
James. James.
Nice job,
James,
buddy.
did you have a speech prepared?
No, I don't.
Smart.
Did he want one of his dad in with him?
All right. And like I said, the fun continues. So right now, I've met a couple of times with this robotics team called the Fyre Bots. And they're going to do a much better job describing what they do. But in light of wrestling with conversations about pedestrian crossings and safety issues, I thought the council would have fun hearing about the phenomenal work they've been doing. It's just these are 4th to 8th graders. And I think you'll be blown away with the kind of research and work that they've been doing as they compete for and speak to what you guys have accomplished so far in terms of the competition you're involved with. And so, yeah, come on up to the podium. Does someone have the clicker that they can do their, oh, you got it, okay. You just give her the signal when you want to switch slides. Okay. So we do want to get your, so whoever's speaking, please speak into the microphone or by the podium because we got to capture it for the record, okay? Fire away when you're ready. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
Okay.
Firstly, just act like you're talking to some friends in the living room. Just take a deep breath and relax. You learn a lot of courage coming up here.
So firstly, on behalf of my awesome team Firebots, we would like to thank you guys, the City Council, for taking out your guys' precious time to listen to our research about a much-needed safety attention pedestrian crossing. So we're Team Firebots, and I'm Shuja.
My name's Abhi. I'm Vilanchi. I'm Krish. I'm Zunaira.
So what FLL is? FLL stands for First Leg League, and the first stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. And FLL is where kids from 4th to 8th grade compete in a competition that includes robot game, core values, and project research. So this year's topic is City Shaper. So what we're trying to do in this year's topic is find a problem in our community and fix a current solution or make a solution. So after doing lots of research on a lot of different topics, we decided to do a pedestrian crossing due to the amount of injuries each year from pedestrian accidents.
The types of pedestrian crossings are the zebra, which is a black and white striped crosswalk, the pelican, which is where you have to press a button and wait to cross, the puffin, which is a smart sensor pelican, the toucan, which is a larger puffin, the pegasus, which is an even bigger toucan, and the school crossing is near a school. And the pedestrian refugee is when you have to cross more than once.
And we just thought there were hawk signals.
In 1990, the pedestrian death status was at 6,000, and then it reduced down to 4,000 in 2009. And then it increased back up to 6,000s in 2018. 2019 was the most deadliest year for traffic fatalities this decade in the U.S. From 2008 to 2017, pedestrian fatalities increased by 35%. Pedestrian fatality by states. So the yellow is the low range, the blue is the middle range, and the red is the high range. Washington is in the middle range with 18.2% out of the USA. Pedestrian killed by type of cars. Passenger cars went up 30%, while SUVs went up 50%. Passenger cars kill the most people and vans kill the least.
Go ahead and pull it down.
Pedestrian fatalities by land use, location, light, and season. So, urban areas kill 80% of people, dark kills 75%, and not at intersection kills 73%. During the winter and fall months, fatalities usually happen between 6 and 9 p.m. During the summer and spring months, they usually happen between 9 and midnight. Roadway fatalities by road user for 2017 and 2018. Pedestrian accidents were the second highest, and between 2017 and 2018, the amount of deaths were about the same. Pedestrian fatalities in Seattle in 2019. Out of a total of 98 deaths, 39 of them were moving vehicle and pedestrians. Pedestrian fatalities for Seattle. 2019 is already among Seattle's worst years for traffic deaths. Out of 178 total injuries, 153 of them were serious injuries, and 25 of them were fatalities. Pedestrian fatalities by roadway type. Local streets kill the most pedestrians with 35%, and county roads kill the least with only 8%.
So if you were hit by a vehicle traveling at 20 miles per hour, the chances are you will probably survive. If you're hit by a vehicle traveling 30 miles per hour, that decreases by 40%. If you're hit by a vehicle traveling 40 miles per hour, that decreases by another 40%. So a few causes of crosswalk accidents. There's negligent drivers who don't care about the pedestrians. There's red light running. There's drivers who do not see the crosswalks. There are pedestrians not aware of crosswalk signals, like they're moving when the crosswalk says to stop. There are drivers turning and not aware of pedestrians, such as in a foggy environment and they can't see very well. Drivers while drunk, and drivers distracted with cell phones. Fun fact, smartphone use rose 236% between 2010 and 2016. The number of smartphone-related ER visits are on the rise as well. So an overview of crosswalk accidents is 13% of all traffic fatalities in the U.S. are pedestrian deaths. 73% of pedestrian fatalities occur in urban areas. A pedestrian is killed by a vehicle in the U.S. every 88 minutes on average. 62% of the accidents occurred while the pedestrian was crossing the street. 65% occurred where there were no traffic controls, and 73% occurred on roads with a posted speed of 30 miles per hour or higher. So this is our innovative solution to this problem, the Fyre Walk, keeping you safe today. So as you can see, this is supposed to be the world's safest crosswalk. So as you can see, a hologram shall pop up from the ground when the pedestrian is crossing. That will be really nice and visible in like foggy environments and like Snoqualmie, especially during the dark. We also use blinking lights that are underneath the road that will flash, that will also alert the drivers in the same way. There are speakers which will blare out pedestrian crossing or something along those lines to alert both the drivers and the pedestrians. And we also have high-intensity laser lights. Those are basically street lights with lasers injected in them, which should be like high intensity. You could see it really well during the dark. It's also powered by kinetic energy. So whenever a car, or pedestrian, or anything crosses over it, it picks up the vibrations sent by the thing, and it makes it into energy. It also is powered by solar panels and wind turbines. The wind turbines should be very efficient in windy areas like Snoqualmie. So how it works is our pedestrian is ready to cross. He steps on that yellow bumpy thing before the crosswalk usually. So the speakers start blaring, the hologram pops up, the flashing lights turn on, and then the pedestrian is crossing the road. He's not rammed by any cars, and he isn't busy dying or anything. He crosses the road perfectly fine, and then everything goes away, and he's fine.
Oh, jeez, Chris.
So as Chris said, our crosswalk is as Chris said, our crosswalk it uses energy generated from kinetic energy. The kinetic energy is a completely scientific concept, whereas the vibration from something can make something else react to it. So the kinetic energy collected from the drivers or the pedestrians who are walking. So say anybody who just walks on our crosswalk, they are making energy automatically for it. And even if there's no pedestrians crossing it, the drivers, when they go over it, they are going over a piezoelectric generator, which takes the vibrations and converts it into usable energy. So we don't just generate our... Okay, fine. Okay, so we don't just generate our energy from the kinetic energy, but we also generate it from the wind and solar energy. So the wind and solar energy the solar energy is used on many crosswalks these days, but the wind energy isn't. So all it does is there's a wind turbine that when the wind blows, it's as much as it spins is how much energy it how much the wind can convert it into energy. As the solar panels take in the solar energy, we're also getting the energy from that, getting tons and tons of energy. So we took the total cost of our crosswalk and we estimated about how much it would be. After adding up all the costs for like the speakers, the lights, the holograms, the actual like microchips and the pressure plates and the batteries, after taking everything into account, we finally decided, after adding it all up, we finally realized that it would be about $30,000 to $35,000 before the actual building fee. So why is our solution the best? If you haven't already realized, our solution uses energy from natural resources such as solar, wind, and kinetic. We use a holographic image, which is really cool because it's also very effective in dark and foggy places because it's very visible. It's widely applicable in any area because it's a hybrid system of many different ways of contact, can be used anywhere. It has a very long battery life due to the kinetic energy, this wind energy, and the solar energy. It is very cost effective in windy areas like Snoqualmie because the energy is being generated so quickly that we don't have to worry about it ever running out of battery. It's also very easy to install and maintain because it's not so much parts. It's really just batteries and most of it's above ground. So who benefits from our crosswalk? The drivers, the pedestrians, the government, the bicyclists, and everybody. Everybody's a pedestrian at one point. So thank you for listening to our presentations. Do you have any comments, concerns, or questions?
I have a question.
Great job, guys. Go ahead, Councilman Summerall.
So, are you concerned at all that it will be so cool, that crosswalk, that people will just push it and not even want to cross the walk?
Well, you see, if the hologram, if the actual pressure plate doesn't, if the sensors in the crosswalk don't sense anybody going across, it will automatically shut off.
Oh, well, okay. So it's not going to be on all the time?
No.
Oh, okay.
So even if people say in a really a lot of there's a lot of people in New York, in City Square, New York, it would, even if it turns on randomly, if people aren't actually crossing it, it would turn off.
And if it was always on? This isn't working. Oh, yes it is. Okay. If the hologram was always on, then the driver will soon realize that they can cross through it, and then even when a pedestrian is crossing, they'll just go and ram into it too. So
Councilmember Shepherd?
How long have you been working on I've got a couple of questions. So how long have you been working on this project?
We started researching 5 months ago, so
Okay,
this is
good.
our like sixth month, and we've been meeting once a week. And then as we came closer to our competitions, we've been meeting once every day.
Also, we came up with the solution about midway through November or so. We used a lot. We had to think about it a lot because we did a lot of research on earthquakes and on pedestrian crossings because Washington is right above a plate. So we thought about both of them, but we chose pedestrian crossings because it was a very high risk problem, which not many people actually take into account.
Also, if you wanted like to walk to your building, like if you live like a couple blocks away from like your workplace, you need it doesn't matter if your building collapses during an earthquake, as long, like, because if you can't get there safely, what's the point of going into your building if you can't get there safely?
So, like, if you're trying to get to your building and you die midway, then what's the point of the building?
So is this
Councilmember Ross. Yeah.
So when is the competition and where is it?
Oh, well, this quarterfinals before we went Mr. Mayor Larson was last year in December. This year the semifinals were in last week, and then yesterday were the finals.
Can you guys explain how you've done so far as you've gone through those different?
Well, we did well. We've been doing this for 3 years now, you know. So we've improved a lot from where we've started. Yeah. On our first year of doing this, we didn't move on to semifinals. The next year we moved on to semifinals, but we didn't move on to finals. This year we did move on to finals, but we didn't move on to national finals.
Which are in Houston.
It's the steady part of progress. It's steady progress.
Great. Well, great. Well, guys, because we had our first council meeting this month canceled, so we had to put 2 council meetings once. We have a full plate. I know we'd love to hear more from you, but we have to wrap it up. I want to congratulate you again. I was just impressed with these guys because I had conversations with them close to an hour talking about all kinds of city infrastructure challenges, about the issues we have in terms of budgets and finding durability and on infrastructure and things like this. I know we have some engineers back here for the city that might want to chat with you as you're heading out. But a couple of thoughts. One is Earl Bell's in the audience, and I know you at some point we have to put these guys in touch with the Innovation Center that's open in the valley here. And Pete, I see you back there. Maybe they could do some cool stuff on some of your product there too. But all right, well, let's do a quick picture, guys, if you can. And thanks for coming. And I know it's pretty cool because again, this they didn't fall asleep after talking for an hour about city stuff. It's cool.
Thank you.
Nice job.
This way too, guys.
Nice job.
Who gets
you guys
to
don't
follow
have to stay
that?
if you don't want to, but I'm fascinated by the fact that you find city stuff to be captivating, so that's encouraging. All right, with that, I'd like to move on to appointments of boards, commissions, and committees. As council understands, many of these are reappointments, but we have a few new members here, some of which are present tonight. I'd like to appoint the following. Rackets, or reappoint Sally Rackets, position 1, and David Levesque, position 2, for terms ending January 31st, 2024. And Donna Cronk, position 3, for term ending January 31st. Service Commission appointment, James Rowland, position 3, for term ending March 31st, 2024. Economic Development Commission, Brian Hurley. Brian, if you could put your hand up. He's a new member for a term ending December 31st, 2021. On the Human Services Committee appointments, Carol Peterson, position 1, Sarah Weasel, position 2, Ann Logelin, position 3, and staff liaisons Deborah Vigil and Carson Hornsby for terms ending January 31st, 2021. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee appointments, Denny Groschaud, position 1, Yvonne Gilbert, position 2, Richard Anderson, position 3, and Kelly Coughlin, position 4 for terms ending December 31st, 2020. Good to have the chamber representation on there. Dick was thankful for his terms, but was happy to move aside and give the chamber an opportunity to serve on the LTAC. Parks and Events Commission, Rachel Money, position 3, and Chelsea Rivas, position 4 for terms ending February 28, 2024. And lastly, Planning Commission appointment, Ruziak, a reappointment, position 5 for term ending December 31st, 2024. And returning member, Kara Christensen, position 1, and David Goodman, position 7 for terms ending December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion, or I'm sorry, Shoreline Hearings Board appointments, Dwayne Johnson, position 3, Art Funamori, position 4, and Jason Rogers, staff, position 5 for terms ending March 31st, 2024. Do I have a confirmation, council, or motion?
So moved.
Second.
Right, a motion and a second to confirm. Is there any discussion on these members, council? Right. I appreciate the council taking some of the late information on the two members. I think Jody might have provided you background on David Goodman too. David's got a very impressive planning background. Yeah, Councilor.
I just want to congratulate all those that are choosing to serve, because as a small town like ours, we don't always have the luxury of being able to hire folks to do some of these positions and take on a lot of this work. So the fact that you volunteer your time, you're willing to, many folks are willing to commit to second term, third term, fourth terms, and that sort of thing. So thank you very much from I won't speak for the entire council, but thank you very much for your willingness to serve on these commissions and boards.
Thank you, Councilman Lasane. I appreciate your comments about Kara. When you served on the Planning Commission with Kara, we were excited to have her back. Got a strong legal background and so forth as well. And is from a part of the community that doesn't have much representation in many quarters. Are there other members that I mentioned tonight that if you could just raise your hand to be recognized, along with Brian and Kelly? All right. Brian actually came down to interview for a Planning Commission seat, and I think after talking to Mark Hoffman, we concluded, boy, you ought to be on EDC. He's got a great background, kind of an understanding metadata, or all the data that's collected so we thought his background would be fascinating in those conversations at the EDC. So Brian, thanks for stepping forward on that too. So if there's any further discussion or comments, council? Councilor Sunwell.
I understand why we skipped the next to last one. Why did we skip the last one?
What did I miss?
The last line.
Those aren't boards and commissions.
Oh, they're just under appointments. Got it.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion or questions? All right. With that, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Again, congratulations. Look forward to working with you all. And thank you. All right. So at this time, I'd like to appoint the Director of Parks and Public Works. I'm sure the council has heard I have appointed Brian Kraus to the position of Director of Parks and Public Works, and would ask for your confirmation at this time.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Brian Kraus. Is there any discussion?
Good candidate.
It's one of the few rare opportunities we've had to hire from within, and I think it's a great opportunity for Brian. Brian once again showed his competence with handling the snowstorm very deftly this past week or so ago. Brian, do you want to make a comment or two? Or
well,
sometimes they say when the sale's been made, you stop talking, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to serve as Director of Parks and Public Works. Oh, sorry. There, is that better? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor, to serve as the Director of Parks and Public Works. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and continuing the work we started over the last couple of years. We've got a lot to do, and I'm looking forward to taking on the challenges that we have ahead.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Any discussion or questions, council? All right. With that, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion is carried unanimously. Brian, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So at this time, per the council's motion, we're going to go into executive session to address, prior to the motion on the appointment of the interim city administrator. So council, let's just quickly make our way up to the conference room if we could. And we'll be, everyone else just enjoy and talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, that's cute.
One more minute. I know I'm missing Brian. No, I'm missing Councilmember Holloway. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Called me about 2 hours ago, a client of mine. And asked him about life insurance. What was your trigger? I said, Kobe Bryant. I said, I know his life is fine.
All right, we're now back in session. At this time, I'd like to appoint Rick Rudametkin to the position of interim city administrator on as of January 3rd, 2020. I may have council confirmation. Motion and a second.
Move to confirm?
Second?
Have a motion and a second to confirm Rick Rudametkin as stated. Is there any discussion, council?
Yeah, how do you pronounce his last name again?
Rudametkin.
Okay,
Did I
Rudametkin.
pronounce that right?
That's
No, I wasn't asking you, Mayor. Actually.
Right.
it's Rudo Metkin, council member.
Rudametkin.
Rudo
Okay.
Metkin.
He
Yeah.
just said it slower.
No, there's an emphasis on the E, not the U. So I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Mayhew.
I move that we, sorry, Mayor, just point of information, I didn't hear correctly. What's the title that we're appointing him to? Could you
Interim city administrator.
Interim city. I move that we add that the appointment be for no longer than 6 months.
Okay, so that's an amendment to the motion.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to amend the motion to limit the appointment of the interim city administrator to 6 months. All right, any good discussion on the amendment? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Motion is carried. All right, we have 6 ayes and 1 nay. All right, again, that doesn't mean it's limited. I mean, it just means it comes back for further council action if it extends as interim beyond that. All right. Now we're back to the main motion with the amendment made. Any further discussion, council? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion is carried. Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Excited to have you on board. Rick's been really a trooper tonight. Not only did he came on board, then I left town, and then the snowstorm hit, and he got kind of thrown in with a baptism of ice, and handled it supremely well. I think it's a real gift that you were available at the time that we needed you here, and look forward to working with you, Rick. So
Thank you.
again, congratulations. Did you want to say anything at all, or?
Real quick, so start coughing into the microphone.
Oh, that's what I meant to mention. And then he got kind of deathly ill this past week. He's due to the coughing, had a hard time sleeping. I think he got about all of 20 minutes last night. So the fact that he's here and still holding strong is impressive. So.
No, I just want to thank the mayor and all the council members and staff. It's been really good so far. I'm really happy to be here. I'm looking forward to working with everybody and moving our city forward, along with our residents, and just make it the best place to work, live, and play. And I really look forward to this opportunity, and I thank you very much for it. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Rick. All right, with that, we're going to move on to citizens' comments. At this time, we'll provide, I'm sorry, picture?
It's an interim picture.
Yeah. That's what we did for citizens. You don't want me to get close to him or touch his hand? Yeah.
He's working for it.
Pass that down.
Yeah. Not dating him, he's just working for him. I know.
Oh, nice.
Brian, come up quick.
Oh, yeah.
We got 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, everybody.
I literally have to do that whenever I go to the city in Korea. I'm like, yeah.
Sure, we'll hear about that.
Okay, again, going on to citizens' comments, but first a few ground rules. One, the Snoqualmie citizens who are not present here tonight have a right to have their elected representatives perform their duties on behalf of the city in an efficient and orderly manner. Therefore, comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. or 3 minutes at this time. 2, please wait to be recognized. Come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. 3, direct your comments to the council as a whole and not to individual members. In order to protect the privacy rights of employees and to protect members of the public from legal liability, please note that this is not the appropriate venue to make complaints or accusations about an implied or named city employee or agent. Such oral comments will not be allowed, but can be submitted in writing to the city clerk. 4th, please note that this is not a time to ask questions of the council, mayor, or staff, or to engage in debate. The council will quietly and respectfully listen to your concerns. And 5th, please respect the decorum of these proceedings, as all due respect will be afforded to you. And please note that public comments for items not on the agenda are only audio recorded per council action on September 9, 2019. So with that, is there anybody who would like to speak at this time? Wayne.
Wayne Russell, 8438 Meadowbrook / Wildcat Way Southeast. Anyhow, the first thing I want to do, I am going to say something about one council member, and that's Mr. Mee, who I really applaud him for taking comments at the CDC committee meeting, because there were many citizens that were quite concerned and they got a chance to speak. So thank you, Mr. Mee. And then my next concern is I already talked to Chief a little bit about it during your executive session, but the high school just had some kind of a concert. You know, and I live immediately across the street from it, and from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9:30 at night, it was nothing but a traffic jam. And that's why I talked to the chief, and he said they of it. So I think the school district should maybe inform our police department when they're going to have an event like that, because they were even having overflow parking at the elementary school and at Centennial Park. That's how many cars were there. I couldn't figure out what was going on at 9 o'clock. I was watching television. I'm like, wow, what's going on out there? And it was the parking lot emptying out. And then my next thing is I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to go directly what the topic was, but I'm concerned about contracts. Because how can we leave people get out of contracts unless there's an escape clause in them somehow? I know that's more for Anna's ballpark, but it's a concern, because if somebody signs a contract, any of them I've had to live up to. So I'm really concerned with what the events that transpired. And one other note on that is I did talk to some of the businesses I said I would, like Mount Si Golf Course, and actually the hotel did contact them. So that made myself feel a little better, because at first we just thought maybe they just did a generic list, Google it, and hey, these are all the places we might run shuttles to. But they actually did talk to Tracy at the golf course. And that's all I have, and thank you for all the new appointments, and looking forward to the good Lord keeping me around and harassing you folks.
All right. Happy New Year. Is there Anna, go ahead.
Anna Sotelo, 39075 Southeast Gamma Street. Just because the tourism plan has been pushed now into the retreat, I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys as a whole. And just to, remind you, I think it's been 3 years since I've been standing up here and kind of saying the same thing, and someone kind of referred to what, I guess the biggest thing is it hasn't been criticism. It's been more of a kind of a Paul Revere type of thing is, hey, this is going to happen. I think it's kind of happening. And I think there's been a real domino effect. And like I've been telling you as well with my experiences over the last few months with UPS and just seeing sales and trends and what people are buying and how it's changing, I think I really, really, really encourage you guys at this retreat to kind of move away from what you have lightly discussed in these CDC meetings with the tourism plan and really find out what it is that people are buying and what it is that the population can accommodate. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Is there anyone else like to speak at this time? All right, seeing no one else move forward, we'll move on to the consent agenda items. All items listed below will be enacted by one motion. Action items include minutes for the December 9th, 2019 regular city council meeting. Other approvals include Agenda Bill 20001, Resolution 1531, accepting 2017 overlay project as complete. Agenda Bill 20002, Resolution 1532, accepting construction of the Canyon Springs Waterline Slope Repair Project as complete. Agenda Bill 20006, interlocal agreement regarding emergency services between the City of Snoqualmie and Snoqualmie Valley School District Number 410. Agenda Bill 20008, Parks Property Tax Levy Agreement between King County and the City of Snoqualmie. Agenda Bill 20004, Consultant Agreement for the Professional Services with Pertine Incorporated for Railroad Avenue Rapid Rectangular Flashing Beacon Design Services. And Agenda Bill 21012, Washington City's Insurance Authority Alternative Delegate Appointment. Do I have a motion, Council?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as stated. Is there any discussion of these items, Council? All right, see no discussion there. Is any member of the public? Anna?
Anna Sotelo, 3907.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Do we take public comment and consent?
Yes.
Yeah, we always do, yeah.
Okay.
And I should have done it before council discussion, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Anna Sotelo, 39075 Southeast Gamma Street, 2004. I think that we should definitely consider our presentation tonight before we jump into it. No, it's a joke. It's a Sunwallow joke. Sorry. Clearly, I don't get the same kind of laughs. I really think this project is great. What I do need to comment again, though, and what I've been commenting for the last 3 years, it's what brought me here when I discovered, are still negotiating with Petit Engineer. I want to remind everyone, and maybe you guys think that I'm just up here Petit. No, in case you don't remember my issues with Petit, is that years ago, the state auditor found them to be guilty of overcharging our developers, which then got passed on to the homeowners, which got passed on to the landlords. People wonder why rent is so expensive in commercial areas. It cost more money than they had to spend on the developing. Again, they're not our city engineer. We hired someone named Kamal, who's been gone now for 3 years, has not been replaced. They are not our city engineer. I'm very pleased that they gave us quite a deal on this project. I want to get this project done. But again, moving forward, we were told last year, the year before, that they were being weeded out and that there would be competitive bids, competitiveness going on. They are not our city engineer. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Is there anybody else who would like to comment on any of the consent agenda items? Seeing no one move forward, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, moving on to reports. Parks and Public Works Committee, Agenda Bill 20003, Fuel Tax Grant Agreement with the State of Washington Transportation Improvement Board for the SR 202 Pedestrian Signals Project.
Hold on, let me open that up. This agreement with the State Transportation Improvement Board provides $150,000 grant funds toward this SR 202 Pedestrian Signals Project. The grant requires 20% match of $30,000. The city budgeted $1.538 million for the project, though the current estimated project cost is $440,000. The net projected cost to the city is $290,000. Move to approve the grant agreement with the State of Washington Transportation Improvement Board for the SR 202 Pedestrian Signals Project and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 20003 as stated by Councilmember Sunwell. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this item prior to action? Wayne, go ahead.
Wayne Russell, 8438 Meadowbrook / Wildcat Way Southeast. Anyhow, my concern is with these just pedestrian lights. I think they should be full stoplights myself. That's just my opinion, because when I come from Meadowbrook and I come down to turn to a meeting here, sometimes I sit there in that intersection for about 3 or 4 minutes with, I don't know how many cars behind me. All you see is a bunch of headlights behind you, and you're sitting there. And I think what's going to happen with the pedestrian lights, you're going to have people wanting to merge onto the streets from River and King, and they're going to be turning into pedestrians. I really am concerned from what your fire guys just said before. I'm really concerned about pedestrians getting hit when this happens, because drivers can be quite rude, and obviously against a vehicle that's not going to look up very good. And we still need crosswalks by the high school too, even though most people don't use them. But anyhow, we need crosswalks there, and I am really concerned about the light. They should be full stoplights, pressure activated by vehicles that want to turn left or right off a King or a River. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Anybody else? Fuzzy?
Fuzzy Fletcher, 7749 Maple Avenue, Southeast Snoqualmie. Pretty much concur with what Wayne just said. I understand the project pretty well, and I'm seriously hoping that while we may, at King in the center of 202 there, put a flashing light, I'd really like to see a traffic light, red, green, and yellow at the corner on River Street, so that people that live on this side of 202 can actually make a left turn and get out onto 202. One of my concerns is that and if you're going to budget, we've got a $1.5 million budgeted for it. My understanding is a traffic light is $600,000, and then we can put in the Firebot idea that came here earlier for the 2 flashing lights. Kind of roll it all into one, spend less than $1.5 million, and those of us that live on this side of 202 stand a chance getting out. I've even talked to one council member in particular, and I won't name that person's name. mentioned to me that they've had trouble getting out, whether they come here for meetings and then trying to get out on 202. So while I'm not opposed to taking the money from the state, if they're going to help us out, great. But I really would like to see a traffic light at River Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Fuzzy. Anybody else? All right, with that, Councilor, is there any discussion? Councilor Sewell.
Yeah, so generally, taking other people's money is something we put on consent, but one of the reasons I wanted this to not be on consent is because I just wanted to highlight the project. This is as someone who works downtown and travels to the Ridge to go home, for the 6 months out of the year it's dark when I leave. This is a massive improvement. Also, as a reminder, any stoplight requires MUTCD traffic warrants that warrant the light, and this does not. It would also require, because it is a state highway, would require state approval to do so. We were fortunate to get state approval on these. If you look at the map, King Street, Midspan, and River will be decorated. We are working to get holograms. That is an amendment I was going to propose here. But it is going to massively improve. Right now, drivers who don't want to hit pedestrians have a very high chance of hitting pedestrians because it is so unmarked and so difficult to see when it's dark and wet. And with these improvements, which I am told we should have in prior to the next dark season, so next fall, I'm super excited as a downtown business owner to have more visibility into pedestrians crossing the street in what has become a very busy downtown because our businesses are doing very well, which is awesome.
All right, thank you, Councilor Swan. Councilor Shepherd.
So I'd like to have us do a second study to find out whether this meets warrants for a full signal, because I've been in that intersection and it is very hard to turn onto it, and I've seen school buses backed up. So it's not just impacting just the cars, we have a whole bunch of school buses that are coming back, dropping kids off. But on top of that, I'm just wondering what our highest need is as far as what's going on at the high school. I know that I was just more recently aware of what the congestion is around the high school traffic, and I know that my grandkids are talking about they need some sort of organized way of handling the traffic, and I think that the bus drivers are really struggling with getting in and out. So I would like to have a second opinion on a traffic study for these intersections.
All right, Councilor Ross.
So this is kind of directed back to Councilmember Sunwall. Did you just mention you've been working with WashDOT on this, right? And this is what they would only approve?
I haven't,
Or
but
not
Brian
you,
has,
but-
and Brian,
but our experts
actually both
in the
Brians.
city have been.
Yeah, maybe can you come up and just chat about this? But the short answer to the question is to do anything that involves 202 requires state approval. No matter how much we like it or not, it requires WashDOT approval, which for a period of time we were not getting, but did. So, Brian,
We went through a number of different things. I know the developer agreement was a full signal there, similar to the situation we have up at Fisher and the hot signal there. It's the side traffic that's coming, the 202 traffic. There's plenty of traffic there, obviously, but the side traffic doesn't come to warrant a full signal. Now, the whole purpose of this project wasn't vehicle turning, it was primarily pedestrian safety. And with multiple meetings and communication with the state, they actually came out and did a pedestrian count. And what they found is how it works now, the traffic actually does as well as can be expected for stopping for pedestrians. That doesn't mean that they can't be seen well all the time, but from their counts, it went as well as can be expected. What they said about the rectangular, the RFBs, is it would only augment that. It would only make it better for pedestrian crossings.
So, that's a great reminder. It's been a couple of years since we talked about warrants for traffic signals, but it literally has nothing to do with how many cars are going on 202. It has everything to do with the traffic on the cross streets, and that is what did not merit a traffic signal at Fisher, and is what does not merit a traffic signal at King or Park. I suspect, what? River. King or River, yeah. I suspect, and maybe they already did, I suspect that WashDOT would wholly reject a stoplight there, and I suspect there would be citizen outrage if we had a stoplight or two on 202.
That's a distinct possibility.
But did we approach WashDOT about a full signal there?
We approached them about the signal and the flashing beacons. They actually came to us. It's funny because they were actually considering a four-way stop sign for that intersection.
Okay, that would
and
be
we're
outrage.
like,
That would
have
be
you
outrage.
been here when the high school gets out? That isn't going to work. So that's where we came, and they approved the flashing beacons.
So great work on getting the grant money. Was Nicole involved in that? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Grant writer extraordinaire. So great job on that. And then we've talked about this in committee. There is still a reasonable possibility we will get some money from Quadrant as part of the money that was supposed to go to a full signal here, and I think we're working on that, correct?
Correct.
Or we should get, at least for the River Railroad intersection, which is where the mitigation was for. All right. Thank you, Brian. Anyway, I thought in light of this coming forward tonight, it was appropriate for the fire bots to sort of be timed with that. 'Cause I thought one of the most fascinating data points was the research they had done about just this incredible bounce after 2009 of the fatalities around pedestrian signals. And it's absolutely correlated with, I think, the introduction of the first iPhone shortly before that, and then every iteration that was similar to that with the distractions and the cell phone data kind of correlates almost exactly with those rapid increases. So good investment, it seems, given the circumstances at the time, at least until there's driverless smart cars driving around and makes things more safe again. All right, any further discussion, council? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion is carried. Sorry, give me a second, I just got locked out again. All right, so moving on to Agenda Bill 20005, Agreement for Consultant Services with RH2 for Lift Station Improvement 2020.
This project identified in the scope of work are for improvements at lift station number 1 on Railroad Place and lift station number 2 on Fir Street and Pickering Court. These projects are identified on the council-approved 2017 to 2022 Utilities Capital Improvement Plan. Move to approve agreement for consultant services with RH2 for lift station improvement 2020 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 20005 as stated by Councilmember Sunwall. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, is any discussion, council? Councilmember Mayhew.
Just because for some reason this isn't on consent, I will ask a question, which is, I'm just curious on engineering contracts. I believe that we picked the engineer for each of these projects based on qualifications, not based on a bid process, which I understand why that occurs, and that's fine. I'm just curious if I could have a brief 30-second summary of how it is that we are also satisfying ourselves as to pricing, that pricing isn't much higher than it might have been with some other near equivalent firm. I just don't know how that works, so I'm just curious, but just about 30 seconds on it.
Okay. This was vetted through a 2015 CIP RFQ where we reached out to the consultant industry to submit applications or proposals for this work to implement our 6-year CIP. How the costs are negotiated, rates throughout the consulting industry are fairly comparable. We aren't allowed, we can negotiate a price after we've selected a consultant, and that's usually what we do. We go through their rates and work through the costs and negotiate the final price with them based on what we feel is adequate for the scope of services that's in front of us. So we look at them, we think, yeah, they're the best fit for the job, then we negotiate with them the fee structure based on what their fees are, which are typically known, similar to some of the other contracts we have before you. The fee schedules are included. So a lot of times those fee structures are very similar from one consultant to another. But what we look at is the amount of hours for each line item, the types of things that they're about to do, and making sure those numbers line up with what we think they should be.
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, then when you get to that stage of the process where you're negotiating the fee, you have access to similar firms that have similar capabilities and what their fee schedules are, and you're able to ascertain pretty easily what the appropriate market rate is.
Yeah, we usually have work history of our own and research we'll do on our own, get fee schedules. We can do comparisons.
Brian, are you free to, if the negotiation kind of break down and you consider it too costly, can you back up or reject it at that point and start over again?
Oh, absolutely. If we're uncomfortable.
So that's the protection there, yeah.
Got it. And so.
Oh, I didn't know it was Joe. I'm not sure if we should have let Joe in.
And we don't let planning commission members in. So, got it. That's exactly what I was trying to ask. And so similarly with any of the other engineers that we contract with, say, for example, Petit, when we contract with any of these engineers for engineering work, that's always true, the method of controlling cost that you just described.
Yeah, we'll look at the costs, and if something doesn't seem right and we're uncomfortable with it, we will take a step back or push back on the consultant, say, we need you to take a look at this. And if we're uncomfortable, we will pull the plug on it.
Great, thanks very much.
All right, any other questions, Councilman Leslie?
I just want to clarify, there was a comment regarding why was this not on consent, and during the committee, there were some questions on the dollar numbers that were included. Staff clarified those too. There was some rounding going on, and so those have been corrected, and I have no objection to this agenda bill.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's no further discussions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to Agenda Bill 20011, approved contract amendment number 3 with Gray and Osborne Incorporated to complete the project design and extend contract completion date for engineering services for the Railroad Place, Newton and Delta Street project modifications, and authorize the mayor to sign.
This agreement will authorize Gray and Osborne to complete design for water, stormwater, wastewater, and road reconstruction along Newton Street from Railroad Avenue to Olmsted and along Railroad Place. This will also include additional work on Newton from Falls Avenue to Park Street, hallelujah. This will extend the contract to June 30, 2020. Move to approve contract amendment number 3 with Gray and Osborne, Inc. to complete and design and extend contract completion date for engineering services for Railroad Place, Newton, and Delta Street project modifications, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion is second to approve Agenda Bill 20011 as stated by Councilmember Sunwell. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one, move forward to the discussion, council. Councilmember Sunwell.
I'll just, basically what we're doing here is we're amending the original agreement. We've talked about the Newton sort of expansion stuff for a while. One of the things I had asked based on my own personal experience and feedback from the public was that we take a look at what the design would look to continue. Like, literally all the pavement on the Greek Street side is awesome finally now, except that stretch from Falls to Park along Newton. It's a disaster. And so this is essentially adding the design element to that to consolidate and get our best pricing by putting these projects together. We are under no obligation to, when it comes to construction, to actually, if the cost for that segment prove to be too much, we're not under any obligation to do that. We could shelve that and do that later, but then at least have the design done, and we'll have done that together with the rest of the design to conserve resources. Did I summarize that okay? Okay, and that cost is the 74,000 or whatever that's mentioned in here.
All right, any other questions or discussion, Councilor Mayo?
Yeah, I just want to mention to staff that the budget section of your staff report I thought was very well done. It addresses a lot of the concerns that have sort of, at least for me, been coming up from time to time over the last few months. I just thought this was a fantastic job here, and similarly, some of the other staff reports for some of the other agenda bills have similarly been very good, certainly on those projects tonight, and I just want to compliment you on that. I don't know how you guys are doing it. Hopefully you're working with finance and you guys have worked that out together, but I'll tell you that I find it much more useful and to have this information in here, and I just think you're doing a great job. Great improvements. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Ross.
So this is, my comment's going to be about once you're getting ready for construction. When I was doorbelling this summer along Railroad Place, this project kept coming up. And so if you can hold an open house so residents that live all along these streets know what's going to be happening, and if you can answer any questions, that would be great.
That's a great idea, I think. Okay. We could do it here and invite folks to come down, yeah. In fact, we had one like that on the river, right at where river bends over here, and it was a really good meeting. People really appreciated them. So.
Right.
All right, any other questions or comments on this item, Council? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Any other reports for Parks and Public Works Committee?
No, I think that should be good. Thank you. Other than, I guess, yes. So just thank you again to Parks and Public Works for just killing it on snow removal. I know people were up all night. I know we dealt with the actual 2 major plows going down for a handful of hours. And I don't worry. I mean, I have a daughter that goes to BC, and so I just don't worry about our roads here. I just think you guys do as well as can ever be imagined. And so thank you, because I know that takes people away from families. So I know, Brian, you weren't driving, so if you could pass along our thanks to your team. One of these days I'm going to go for a ride along so that we can actually video it. But I think what you guys do is fantastic work, so thank you.
All right, great. All right, with that, we'll move on to the Community Development Committee report.
Yeah, 2 items. The first is, council members, in your materials were on the table when you arrived here. You had a 1-page summary about the Southeast Area Legislative Transportation Coalition. This is an organization of cities in the Southeast area, including Covington, Maple Valley, North Bend, Issaquah has joined, and a few others you'll see on this document. This is the same group that worked very hard to help us get the on-ramp to the temporary on-ramp to I-90, which is now open from the Parkway and has provided quite a bit of traffic relief. They are now focused. Their number one issue is on completing the roughly 6-mile section of Highway 18 between the Raging River, from Raging River, which is where the interchange project will end the widening, from there across to Issaquah-Hobart Road. This is a massive project. It is estimated to be about $285 million. The hope is to get the state to fund this in their capital budget in time that as the interchange project is finishing at Raging River, that hopefully the money will be in place and the construction can just keep on going over the pass. As you all may know, there was another fatality crash just this weekend on that stretch of road. This is the document that's being used to lobby, and there's a, if you haven't seen it, there's the group is handing out cupcakes to legislators down in Olympia just to get their attention, help get their attention as this is being presented. The CLTC members are also not just addressing our area legislators, but legislators all over the state, going and meeting with their constituents and trying to help explain why this is good, because good for the whole state, because as you know, a significant amount of the freight traffic of the state travels up and down SR 18. So I just wanted to make you aware of this and ask for all of your support in lobbying our state legislators. It is a tough lift right now to try and ask for any capital money. We just had I-976 go through. Frankly, what they're mostly doing is trying to figure out which projects to cut. So it's a hard time to ask, but we must ask. It is such an important safety issue. So just want to make you aware of this. Please let me know if you have any questions, want to participate with the group in some of their lobbying activities, but I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Councilor Jeans, Councilor.
So this was such a good idea. Whose idea was it and when did it get started? Because I'd never heard of this group before.
Well, from the city's perspective, I'm now the liaison to that, but the mayor was just critical in getting this group going. Mayor, perhaps you'd comment on that?
Well, yeah, I think I tried to be a catalyst to get the group organized several years ago, but I was very pleased in this next round. I think it started with the chambers down in Maple Valley and Covington. That kind of picked it up and kind of reassembled those efforts of late and formed this group. So, and was more than happy to jump back into that effort too and push it along.
A lot of our citizens don't realize the elected officials up here do more than just what you see us doing in the city here. We do a lot with county government, with state government, with other city governments to try and create the support for and the conditions and to find funding for things that then help us here in the city. And so there's a lot that goes on you should be aware of, and the mayor has done a fantastic job with this, and I think the support of this council is fantastic as well.
Good.
Yeah, this group was making great headway, particularly with the Senator Hobbs transportation package. Even the $258 million needed to complete the SR 18 was one of the second projects on the list. But now that's all been kind of kicked to the side of the road, pun intended, due to I-976. So the legislature will be back trying to revisiting that. So I appreciate the CLTC group, though, is it's not sitting down. They're, if anything, doubling down on their efforts to make sure as anything gets reassembled that they stay on the radar. So, Councilmember Ross.
So I'm planning on attending the Association of Washington Cities City Action Days, which is in Olympia starting tomorrow. And I'm planning to meet with our legislators and senators. So I will take this along with me. And then there's also going to be ongoing discussions during those meetings about transportation. So it'd be interesting to see what they're stating.
Good.
Mayor, if it might be possible to have this posted somewhere appropriate on our city website, I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we could do that, Joan. I don't know if you have a copy of that, but that was distributed today.
Yeah, and if anyone needs a copy, I can provide it.
Could you forward that to Joan electronically?
Absolutely will do
Jim,
that.
Thank you.
Jim, I'll take care of that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Councilmember Mayhew, yes.
All right, second item I wanted to mention is at the CDC committee meeting this past week, we did receive an application from the owner of the Hampton Inn to change the name and affiliation of that hotel. That affiliation is actually required right now for a 20-year period. It was part of the process of approving that Hampton Inn project. The CDC has concurred with administration that that sort of change would be a major modification, and that would be something that would have to come before this council. So it would also require a public hearing. And so just to make you aware, our intention is at the CDC meeting is to have at our next CDC meeting to discuss this again further with the applicant, but then to bring it forward at our next meeting, which would include a public hearing and then have a presentation to us as to whether we would approve the applicant's request. So I just wanted to make you aware that that was coming forward.
And I'll just comment on that quickly. I had made the suggestion that they keep it at the CDC level right now to kind of bake it a little better, to ask all the questions, give the applicant a chance to respond to those prior to bringing it forward to the full council for discussion, so as to make it more efficient or more respectful of the council's time. So I just urge you, if you have questions around that issue, to please bring it to the attention of the chair or the members of the CDC committee. Councilmember Jeans.
The applicant made as part of their presentation the fact that the Hampton Inn Hilton organization really isn't providing the kind of oversight that they thought, or there's a misunderstanding about that. And I think at the next CDC committee meeting, we're going to plan on getting some input from the Hampton Inn Hilton people directly, and so that'll help feed our minds with respect to what's reasonable.
All right. And I would just caution the council members, though, and Anna could weigh in on this. I think Bob Sturbank said that it does have the potential to maybe become quasi-judicial, so it might be better side of caution to make sure any conversation with members of the public or others are in a way that it's public or on the record. The CDC committee, of course, is recorded, and so that's a good environment to have those conversations take place, because at least those conversations are captured, or anything that influences your decision. So, all right. Anna, is that? No, that's right. All right.
No further report.
Councilmember Summer?
On that, Anna, I just want to make double sure that that would make it, we should, in light of that, we should.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
This isn't discussion, this was just a report from the committee.
I understand.
I think if we want to have discussion, it should first occur at the committee level.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments. That's been very much on the tip of my mind. I'm trying to give it a little latitude, but I agree it's dragging on. I'll just let Councilmember Casanwell.
Just a legal question.
Yeah, since I put it like a legal question.
I would assume we should have no contact proactively or reactively with the applicant in this of any sort, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's all I wanted, Councilmember, to say is just because there might be people reaching out or the applicant to you between now and the next CDC meeting, I thought that was important to clarify for all the council members. So, but thank you. All right. Now that we've concluded that brief report of Community Development Committee, we're on to Finance and Administration Committee. And going back to warrants at this point, ask for a motion and a second to approve the warrants as presented.
Move to approve warrants as presented in the council agenda?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the warrants as presented in the agenda tonight. Councilmember Holloway.
So these warrants were reviewed as part of FNA. One question was received in regards to the warrants in question here. And it was in regards to a particular travel expense, one-day airfare from California to Seattle and back. Committee reviewed it. It was directed by staff for its occurrence. It was an employee expense and appropriately reimbursed. However, we have asked for a review of travel policy. We believe it may have highlighted a policy issue that we'd like to delve into further. But the warrant itself was warranted, excuse the pun.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Mayhew.
Call the question.
All right. Question's been called. Again, this requires a supermajority for calling the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Yeah, motion passes. So that we'll go to back to the original motion and immediately vote without further discussion. Then. All those in favor of approving the warrants tonight?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, the motion carries. So back down to F&A, Agenda Bill 20013, authorize staff to issue a request for proposal for enterprise resource planning software.
City Council approved appropriation amount of $550,000 in 2019-20 biennial budget to begin the replacement city Springbook ERP software that was originally purchased in 2006 and scheduled for a 10-year replacement cycle. The request for proposal was developed and over several months with input from every ERP user. Move to authorize the staff to issue a request for proposal for enterprise software for enterprise resource planning software ERP.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 20013 as stated by Councilmember Holloway. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action?
Bless you.
Seeing no one move forward, is there any discussion, Council? Councilmember Holloway.
In part, in actuality, this is to go back to the applicants of the original RFP. We went through and selected upon review of.
No, different.
Different?
Yeah, different item.
Okay.
We pulled that one.
We pulled that. All right, never mind. Go ahead, Bob, and correct me where I'm wrong.
Okay. This was we had two items. This was the enterprise resource system replacement. So this was the replacement for our current Springbrook software system. It wasn't the public records.
Oh, okay.
I think it wasn't the public records one. which we are coming back at FNA next week with that, I believe.
Never mind what he said.
Right. Then if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. I figured you'd appreciate going home earlier.
No further FNA report. I will turn the chairmanship over to Mr. Mayhew moving forward.
All right. And thank you for your service and efforts, Mayor Pro Tem Holloway. Give a little applause there for that.
Let's go on.
It's a thankless, although well-compensated position or job. Moving on to Public Safety Committee, Agenda Bill 20007, or 007, South King County Fire Training Consortium Interlocal Agreement.
Are you ready? In June of 2019, Council approved AB 19-055 interlocal agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and South King County Fire Consortium for fire staff training, authorizing the ILA through the end of 2019. Since joining in mid-2019, the city has seen a remarkable increase in the quality of training being provided within the department. The city is finally meeting the RCW required commensurate with duty level training, not being achieved in the past. The fire department would like to extend this training. Move to approve South King County Fire Training Consortium interlocal agreement and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 20007 as stated by Councilmember Ross. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, is there any discussion, council?
So this
Just
is
makes it so much cooler to be 007 for your agenda bill.
This is extending it for 3 years. So we signed it the middle of last year, went through the end of the year, now we're extending it for 3 years. And our fire department operates under a mutual aid system, and so there's other fire departments that we worked with, such as Eastside Fire and Rescue, that are part of this, and so they actually get to train together. So it's worked out really well for our fire departments and our mutual aid partners.
All right. Councilmember Mayhew and then Councilmember Shepherd.
Am I missing something? Why is this not on consent?
We voted as public safety to move it forward. We approved it, but we did have a request from Councilmember Shepherd to put it on non-consent.
Thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd.
So I noticed that this is going to be causing you to not spend money on something, I forget what you called it, freezing some of your spending, because you're getting to the limit of what your budget allows.
Correct. Our training and travel, Mark Herrera, Fire Chief and Director of Emergency Management. You're correct. We are using our funds in our training and travel budget to cover the dollars that were not appropriated through the last budget process. That was our plan, to cover the cost of this.
And then this is extending past our biennial budget, right?
It is correct, but the city has the ability, there is a clause in there that allows us to withdraw ourselves from it if we had to.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Ross.
Call the question? Call the question?
Second.
All right. Question's been called. All those in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous to call on the question, so back to the original motion and voting on that. All in favor of approving Agenda Bill 20007?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Any other reports for the Public Safety Committee?
No other reports.
All right. There's no items for Committee of the Whole. However, we do have staff reports which are written at the first meeting of the month.
I've got something that probably comes under Committee of the Whole. We're having a town hall meeting that we did a lot of the planning during this last year, the end of the year. It was a public safety is the theme of the town hall meeting. As you recall.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you.
That's not an item on the agenda.
Councilmember Jeans, you'll have to ask for a motion or motion and then ask for a second to put that on the agenda as a discussion of the Committee of the Whole.
Therefore, I can do it now?
Yeah, just move to add the discussion, a quick discussion about the upcoming town hall meeting.
I make a motion to add to the Committee of the Whole's agenda about the town hall meeting.
Second.
All right, motion and a second is stated by Councilmember Jeans. Any discussion, council? Now, perhaps that breaks protocol because it should have been done at the beginning of the meeting during the setting of the agenda, but I'll leave that to the council to decide. So, I assume there's not much discussion on this one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. The ayes have it, so Bob, please continue.
So just a few items about it. We've tried to have the locations vary in the city to garner different citizens. We've had different subjects, different topics. The topic of public safety, we're actually, in the way that we will market this, we will market families, essentially. This will be a hands-on event that gives the police chief and the fire chief the opportunity to talk about their departments and to show the people, the parents and the children, what equipment we have, and they can get it, rouse around on the equipment and in a fun way learn more about the city. The date is February 29th. It's a Saturday. We're having it from 9 until noon. Chiefs, is that about right?
What's the date again?
The 29th, leap year, February 29th,
Councilmember Sewell?
At the time again?
9 to 12.
So will there be pancakes? No.
Probably not that, but there'll be refreshments.
Oh, I thought you meant PM.
Say again?
I thought you meant PM. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a council meeting.
Word there for a second.
Anything else? That's it?
All right, thank you, Bob. Again, there being no other items for committee of the whole, we have staff reports written this month. However, at this time, are there any other questions from the staff? Councilmember Shepard?
So for Public Works, can we get an update on the NPDES permit? The status?
Right now, you mean? Okay. You're prepared to give a quick update right now, Brian?
I guess I'm, would like a clarification with respect to the permit. We have a number of MPDS permits we comply with. There's a stormwater one, there's wastewater.
There was one that was there was a legal notice about in the newspaper, and it's about 100 pages long, the document that I've been going through. And I was just curious of getting to the end of that document. They've got like things that the city is asking for and the response from the Department of Ecology. And I was just wondering, how is that working out?
We have an annual reporting requirement through Department of Ecology. We have for a number of years now. It's going along fine.
So, Mayor,
Yeah,
point of order.
yeah,
I'm not in favor of having staff answer to nebulous documents somewhere out on the web. I would ask that the council members send it to the chair of Public Works and we're.
Point is upheld. I was going to suggest that the council member just take it offline and inquire with the city staff through an email, and we'd be happy to address that. And please provide more clarification about precisely, because the MPDS that's a pretty big, complex endeavor as well. So, thank you, Brian. Councilmember Mayhew.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention on public parks, just looking at the report, I just did want to mention there was recently a very large pothole that opened up on the parkway. Public Works Department, as soon as they were finally notified of it, seems to have moved very quickly on that, did a great job. And I just wanted to compliment them on that. And I think that was a great service to our city. Also, you might just think about, since there seemed to be a whole bunch of discussion on social media well before you were actually notified, it might be that you consider additional ways to just notify people of what they ought to do when they have issues like that, where they ought to call. To some extent, they may be posting on social media because they don't know what else to do, although I would have thought calling the city would have been obvious, but it doesn't seem that it is. So just something to think about, but I do want to compliment you guys. Did a great job, got right on that. Thank you.
Yep.
Will be on Facebook.
Are there any other questions for comments from the staff, reports from the staff on any other items? All right, with that, any announcements tonight that I'm not thinking about?
Mayor, just point of information.
Yeah.
Maybe we could just clarify for the council when the retreat is and what the hours of those days are.
Rick, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I guess I can do that. Jody and I have been working on confirmation, council members. So tomorrow, Jody will be going and basically finalizing the room for us to make sure it's big enough to support what we need, the audio visual as well. If there is an issue with that or it can't accommodate us, we're looking at the secondary option, which is to bring it right here in the council chambers. We like to have it off-site, obviously, but we'll try our best to do that. And then we'll get back to the council. The hours right now, we have requested the room for 8 hours. So that'll be from 9 to 5 on Friday, and then from 9 to 5 on Saturday. And if we get done early on Saturday, that's great. But if not, we'll have the room for a full 8 hours per day. Yes, council member?
I thought it was ending at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
There was a lot of times going out. There was a 12 o'clock, there was a 1 o'clock, and there was a 2 o'clock. But after discussing the topics that we're going to discuss, or after looking at the topics we're going to discuss, we might need some more time on Saturday to finish it all. However, if we can get out early, that would be great as well. But we've allowed, at least we have to book the room, at least the maximum amount of hours, and then if we leave early, that'd be okay. So the maximum amount of hours will be 8 and 8 on Friday and Saturday. But we'll finalize that. Once we get that finalized, we'll send an email to everybody and let them know the location and what's going on and the final times.
We don't have an agenda yet, right?
No, that'll be coming out as well. Yes, ma'am.
We'll be posting that tomorrow.
Councilmember Ross?
So would there be a packet then that we need to pre-read before we go, or any
There'll be a-
additional information besides the
Go
agenda?
ahead, please.
The IT department will provide a link to all the presentations and documents, as we've done in the past years.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, so if there's no further announcements or other business coming before the council, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion is approved. And you got up before 9 o'clock.
Told you.
Impressive.
Totally.
It is 9 o'clock.
With this agenda.
He didn't
I have
miss
it
my
pressed.